Hi and welcome to another episode. In today's episode I thought I'd finally at least try to do some of the things I usually say I will do and then never come back to them. On today's episode, guillotines. When you're working with paper, being a shop, a individual, or just doing some random craft, sooner or later you will come into a point where you will need to cut paper, obviously. Maybe you're doing photographs, pictures, maybe you're painting something and you need to cut the paper this way, or maybe you're trying to do business cards, let's say, or just greeting cards. You will need a way. How would you be able to separate the paper in such a way that it will result in a workable material with the size you would actually like to have? Let us begin to explore what kind of ways can you separate the paper. Obviously, the first thing that you can do is use not scissors. You can use a blade, a craft blade. With the help of this you can separate a piece, but downside of this, well, obviously very labor intensive, this is not the most accurate tool you can have, but obviously it costs next to nothing. Well, I mean, this one's about a tenner maybe. Was. Right, so the very first paper guillotine that we had, it was a plastic sliding thing. While I would like to show you, well, I mean, here's the picture, but I would love to show you, well, I'd rather say I'd love to show you what to do with it by bending it in half till it breaks and throwing it down the bin, but the point that I wasn't able to find it actually speaks for itself, because I've probably already done it. The next way up, we get into, well, these type of choppers. Not quite a guillotine yet, well, kind of, but the expensive, probably around 20 quid. I could be mistaken, but around 20 quid I think is what these go for. It basically is a piece of metal. It's not even a blade. It's a piece of metal with a sharper edge at one edge and the corresponding part, and when paper gets jammed in you get yourself a cut. Now, the downsides of these things, there's at least two of them. Obviously, three. The downside of this guillotine is that obviously you can separate pieces now semi-evenly, but the edge will not be as good as you would like it to. It will be more of a torn edge rather than a cut like with a blade. Besides that, if you're processing some larger amounts of paper, then you can imagine that this will have quite you will have quite a difficult time cutting something that's thicker than your newspaper, and I would be surprised if this is even if this will even go through the newspaper. But there is a big downside to this, not only because of all of that, but when you are using this thing to cut it, just by sheer technology, the end product will have a curve, so you won't be able to get straight edge. No matter how precise you are, no matter where you position your media, when you cut with this, you won't have a straight edge. It will always have a curve going this way, and unfortunately, unless you go and get yourself a blade, well, not just blade as in the machine, this type of stuff, but with blade, you won't be able to have a straight cut. For the next bit of machinery that I'll show you, I'll have to, well, swap positions. Hopefully you noticed, because you noticed you're following the video, innit? This type of guillotine. This is, well, I think it was around 80, 90 quid, something like that. This is supposedly a good alternative. while I have disassembled it a bit, it doesn't have a blade anymore. It only has the part that you twist, and it lowers and rises the thing that squeezes the paper, so it doesn't move, it doesn't go anywhere, and so on. Other than that, it has a blade on the other end. Well, usually it would have a blade that attaches here, and it swings in this kind of motion with the handle. You operate it with a big handle. This equipment is capable of cutting, if I'm not mistaken, up to 400 pages office paper, 80 GSM I think it was advertised as. Now, it kinda is better, but we still did not use this machine for the purposes that we would like it to be used, for a single reason being the quality of the manufacturing of these machines. Unfortunately, because this is a no-name brand, so to say generic, that's the proper word for it, this generic machine is lacking a straight angle. So imagine you're having a piece of something, right? And you want to separate this into two even halves. You would align it to the top, usually, and after that, you would obviously cut it the way you'd like it to. But if this thing right here, that's soldered to, well, soldered? Probably. That's attached, welded into place, you can't move there. If it has a slight, if it's not welded on straight, at a straight angle, then when you're cutting here, then you will have obviously your end result going sideways. This is where we get into, well, the proper way to do it. This is over 1,000 pound cutter, and all it does is cuts paper. It's a German brand. I do believe this is from 1995 if I'm not mistaken, so this is quite an old, maybe no, yeah, around, well, no younger than, no older than, well, somewhere around there. Basically, big machine cuts big piles of paper. Why would you need ever to spend that much money on something that cuts paper? And why I didn't go the Chinese way or the no-name brand type of stuff, generic things? Because we've already wasted our time, patience, money, and quite a few things trying to find the perfect solution that would work for us. The requirements were simple. It needs to cut paper. It doesn't need to tear it like the second guillotine that I talked about. It needs to have a straight angle, and you can't even begin to imagine how hard it is to find anything at all that does a straight angle cut. It doesn't look like a massive, like a tank, and it weighs an absolute ton in order to do this job. Even this one, it is automated to the point where the whole mechanism itself is almost without the human operator doing stuff. It still has the manual clamp, but it does cut it this way. This is ideal. The name of the machine is Ideal something. Let me have a look. Ideal 3915-95. There we go. This has proven to be worth every single penny. If there is a middle solution for not throwing out over $1,000 on the machinery and still get a straight cut and still do, I don't know, cards, business cards, something that you want to do in bulk, I'm afraid to say that I haven't found one. And this is exactly why you can see this being here. This Well, I mean, obviously on the bigger productions, on the bigger companies, when they actually deal with more paper, more cutting, more everything, you would have the programmable machines. This doesn't stop here, obviously. The next one, the next tier would be, well, first of all, fully automated with them things. Everything's on the buttons. And then you'd have the programmable timer type of stuff where you put in your things and you will just throw in the paper and it will spit out the ready, almost ready paper for you. But unfortunately, you can go, the ideal produces a halfway type of machine. It's similar to one that I've showed you that I've already dismantled, and it costs around 300 to 500 quid. But at that price, I'm really struggling to see where cutting, well, I mean, cutting even something this thick, if it becomes a problem, and without the proper adjustment. I needed precision, and I do not think that spending 300 to 500 quid on even a branded ideal machine would actually pay for itself as good as this machine does, because it does the job as you would expect it to. It cuts, it does it fast, and it does it in big chunks. I can fit an SRA3 format page in here sideways, and I would say that if you're looking for something that will help you to obviously start manufacturing different paper products, and you're looking for something to cut with, what I can say for sure is that please avoid no-name brands. They will, you will pay twice, or you will get what you bargain for. That's an absolute, like, rule of thumb. This will bite you back, pretty much. You will spend your money time and time again, because you will not produce a satisfying result, and that is what I figured out. And this is exactly why you can see some not the top of the line items in here as well. But speaking of guillotines, I'd say either go for something that is branded, obviously not new, you don't need new anything, but as a rule of thumb, stay away from the no-name brands. Hopefully you found this video useful, and you will at least hopefully avoid some of the mistakes that we have done that costed us money, and hopefully you now have a bit more understanding if you've got a need for such a procedure to be performed, as in forming shapes to the exact size requirements. And now you've got at least some sort of idea, because there wasn't obviously one, because all we knew going in was there's scissors and there's the big machinery and nothing in between, so we had to go and try them all manually. But yeah, hopefully this and the videos like this will be a common thing, hopefully, because I'm trying to combine not just the business side of the whole thing and the development. I'm trying to combine this into a format where multiple people can use it. You not necessarily have to be a business user to have the need for the paper cutting, for example, and hopefully you found the category of the cutters that you would like for yourself, that hopefully there's someone behind the screen saying that that's exactly what I need, and they will perform what they imagined. But obviously now that the expectations are set, they will be less easy to fail, because you know what to expect. So hopefully this will now be a frequent thing where I'm able to combine the business side with the more common experience that is more relatable and as well transferable. Thank you for watching. I'll see you shortly.